Picture this. You're scrolling through social media at 11 p.m., watching someone half your age become a millionaire by selling courses about dropshipping. Meanwhile, your notebook sits on the desk filled with brilliant ideas that never saw daylight. Sound familiar? Here's the uncomfortable truth. We've all become professional excuse makers. We've turned procrastination into an art form, wrapped it in sophisticated language, and called it strategic planning. But deep down, we know we're just scared teenagers in grown-up clothes, afraid to fail at something that actually matters. Epictetus, that wise old Stoic philosopher, saw right through this charade over 2,000 years ago. He understood something we've forgotten in our age of endless distractions. The only work worth doing is the work that transforms us. Not the busy work that fills our calendars, not the meetings that could have been emails, but the deep, uncomfortable work of becoming who we're meant to be. Think about your current daily routine. How much of it is genuinely important? How much moves you toward the person you want to become versus the person you think you should be? Most of us spend our days like hamsters on wheel slots of motion, zero progress. The ancient teacher knew his students well. They were just like us, capable of greatness, but trapped by their own limitations, fears, and excuses. They wanted freedom, happiness, and meaning. But they were stuck in patterns that led nowhere. Sound familiar? We're still the same species, dealing with the same fundamental challenges, just with better technology and more sophisticated ways to avoid what matters. Here's what's fascinating. Epictetus didn't promise his students easy answers or quick fixes. He offered them something more valuable: the tools to see clearly. To recognize that most of our suffering comes not from external circumstances, but from our internal resistance to growth. We're afraid of the very work that would set us free. But here's the twist in this ancient wisdom. The teacher isn't asking for much. He's not demanding you climb Mount Everest or cure cancer. He's simply saying, start. Begin the work that matters. Everything else will follow. The problem isn't that we don't know what to do. Deep down, we all know. That novel you keep meaning to write. That business idea you've been researching for 3 years. That conversation you need to have with someone you love. That skill you keep saying you'll learn. When you have time, the work is calling to you, but you keep hitting the snooze button on your life. We've become experts at disguising our fear as pragmatism. I need to do more research. The timing isn't right. I don't have the resources yet. But these are just sophisticated versions of the teenager's defense. This is stupid anyway. I wasn't even trying. The difference is, as adults, the stakes are higher. We're not just missing out on a participation trophy. We're missing out on the life we could be living. So, what exactly is this truly important work that ancient philosophers and modern procrastinators keep dancing around? It's not what you think. It's not necessarily starting that podcast everyone says you should start, or learning to code because that's where the money is. The truly important work is far more personal and, frankly, more terrifying. It's the work of becoming yourself, not the version of yourself that would impress others, but the version that would make you sleep peacefully at night. Here's a simple test. Think about the last time you felt genuinely proud of something you accomplished. Not proud because others praised you, but proud because you knew, deep in your bones, that you had done something that mattered. That feeling, that's your compass pointing toward your real work. For some, it might be learning to have difficult conversations without exploding or shutting down. For others, it could be developing the discipline to create something beautiful, even when no one's watching. Maybe it's the courage to leave a job that pays well but kills your soul, or the patience to rebuild a relationship you've neglected. The ancient Stoics had a radical idea. The only thing truly under our control is our response to life. Everything else, other people's opinions, market crashes, global pandemics, even our own natural talents exists in the realm of uncertainty. But how we choose to show up, that's ours. This is simultaneously liberating and overwhelming. Liberating because it means you're not at the mercy of circumstances. Overwhelming because it means you can't blame circumstances for your lack of progress. The responsibility lands squarely on your shoulders. But here's where it gets interesting. Once you accept this responsibility, the path becomes clearer. You stop waiting for permission, for perfect conditions, for external validation. You realize that the work itself is the reward, not the applause that might follow. Think about the people you genuinely admire, not the celebrities or influencers, but the people in your actual life who seem to have figured something out. What do they have in common? They've usually found their version of important work and committed to it, regardless of whether it makes sense to anyone else. Your neighbor who volunteers at the animal shelter every weekend despite having a demanding job. Your colleague who's been learning Portuguese for 5 years, not because she needs it for work, but because something about the language captures her imagination. Your friend who started a community garden in an abandoned lot because he believed the neighborhood needed more beauty. These people aren't special because they're more talented or have more time. They're special because they've stopped making excuses and started making choices aligned with what matters to them. They've learned the secret. The work chooses you as much as you choose it. But let's be honest about the obstacles. The truly important work is often invisible to others, at least initially. It doesn't come with clear metrics or external deadlines. No one's going to fire you for not writing that book or learning to meditate or having that long overdue conversation with your father. This is exactly why most people avoid it. We're wired to respond to external pressure, but the most meaningful work requires internal motivation. It demands that we become our own taskmaster, our own cheerleader, our own quality control department. The ancient teacher understood this. That's why he emphasized practice over theory, consistency over intensity. He knew that transformation happens gradually, almost imperceptibly, through daily choices that seem small in the moment but compound over time. The question isn't whether you're capable of this work, you are. The question is whether you're willing to start before you feel ready. Continue when you don't see immediate results, and trust the process even when others don't understand your priorities. Here's the moment where most philosophical discussions lose their grip on reality. They end with vague encouragement to follow your dreams or believe in yourself. But Epictetus was more practical than that. He understood that transformation begins with a simple, almost mundane act: showing up. Not showing up perfectly, not showing up with all the answers or the right equipment or ideal circumstances, just showing up. The writer shows up to the blank page even when the words feel clumsy. The would-be entrepreneur shows up to research and planning even when the path seems impossible. The person working on their relationships shows up to difficult conversations even when they'd rather scroll their phone. This is where the magic happens, not in the grand gestures or dramatic revelations, but in the quiet decision to begin again day after day. The ancient philosophers knew something we've forgotten. Consistency beats intensity every time. But let's address the elephant in the room. You might be thinking, this all sounds nice, but I've tried before. I've started projects, made resolutions, bought the books and courses. What makes this time different? Here's what makes it different. You're not trying to become someone else anymore. You're not following someone else's blueprint for success or happiness. You're finally ready to do the work that's uniquely yours, the work that's been patiently waiting for you to stop running from it. The fear of failure that paralyzed you as a teenager? It's still there. But now you understand something crucial. Failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of the process. Every attempt teaches you something. Every false start clarifies what you actually want. Every setback builds the resilience you'll need for the real challenges ahead. Think of it this way. You're not starting from zero. You're starting from everything you've learned, everyone you've met, every experience that shaped you. The years you spent avoiding your real work weren't wasted, they were preparation. They taught you what doesn't work, what doesn't fulfill you, what you're no longer willing to tolerate. The ancient teacher's promise still holds. Trust the process, and you'll see for yourself. Not because the work will always be easy or because success is guaranteed, but because engaging with meaningful work changes you at a fundamental level. It aligns your daily actions with your deepest values. It transforms you from someone who talks about what they want to do into someone who does what they value. This is the real freedom the Stoics talked about, not the freedom from responsibility or consequences, but the freedom that comes from taking full ownership of your choices. When you're doing work that matters to you, external validation becomes nice but unnecessary. When you're aligned with your values, other people's opinions lose their power to derail you. Here's the beautiful paradox. The moment you stop trying to impress others and start focusing on your own transformation, you often end up inspiring them anyway. Not through grand announcements or social media posts, but through the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what you need to do. So what's your truly important work? You already know. It's been whispering to you for years, growing louder each time you ignore it. It's the thing you think about when you're honest with yourself, the thing that scares and excites you in equal measure. The ancient teacher is still waiting, as patient as ever. The classroom is open, the lesson plan is simple, and the only requirement is that you begin. Not tomorrow, not when you're ready, not when the stars align perfectly. Now. Because here's the final truth that took humanity thousands of years to understand. The work itself is the destination. The person you become while doing what matters, that's the real treasure. Everything else is just a bonus.